It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Good morning, Charleston. You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. Thanks for joining me this Saturday morning as we talk about real estate here in the Charleston area. I'm in the studio this morning. I'm taking your calls. So the number here is 843-556-1250. Again, that's 843-556-1250. Any question you want to ask, anything you want to know, story you want to share about the real estate market here, and happy to take your call and have a chat with you about real estate. 843-556-1250. So let me get a little housekeeping out of the way. If you're thinking about buying, selling, investing in real estate, you'd like to work with me personally, you want to talk with me off air about your real estate needs, feel free to give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273, or you can go to listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. You can learn more about me and my team and who we are and what we do and what we've sold and all that fun stuff. But remember this, if you're selling your house, we're extending this incentive through the end of the year. 2.4% commission on the listing side to sell your home. That's a 20% savings to you. And we don't discount our marketing. We actually do more than 99% of the agents out there when it comes to marketing. And our homes are selling in 32 days and for 98% of asking price. So if we can help you with that, again, listingsincharleston.com is the website to go to. So let me give you an idea of what I want to talk about over the next hour. I've got a few things to share with you, a few stories to share with you. But I want to cover these topics. I want to talk about closing costs and prepaids. You know, what are they? How much are they? When is it appropriate to ask for them? I want to talk about just the market in general. I want to share some trends with you, some things that I'm seeing, share that information with you. I want to talk about selling your home and then buying another. I want to talk about that process a little bit. And then finally, I'm going to talk about some staging. Does it really work? Is it necessary for you to incur that kind of a cost to sell your home in this market? It's a seller's market. So we're going to talk about all that over the next hour or so. And again, if you have questions, comments, something you want to share, the number here, 843-556-1250. So it's story time. I want to tell you a little bit about what happened a few days ago with a client of mine. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory here. I'll try and keep this kind of short, but it's I enjoy stories like this because it gives you an idea of what we as real estate agents deal with on a fairly regular basis, actually. So here's the backstory. I represent a client, and these are great clients of mine. They have, let's see, they bought a home, then sold a home, then bought, then sold, then bought, and now they're going to sell and then buy. So repeat clients, love them. They're fantastic. But they're having a bit of a tough time. It's a different market now than it has been over the past several years that they've transacted in real estate. So they want to put their home on the market. They want to move out of their home because they have 5 dogs, and they want to rent something that they can ultimately buy. So preferably, they would just move into the home that they're going to buy and rent it until it sells. Well, they found a house that was a little bit outside of our market area. I'm not going to say where, and I'm not going to give too many specifics because this just happened, so I'm going to keep it kind of broad here. But we found a house. It was a little outside of Charleston. It was about an hour and a half away. And they said, hey, Brian, can you work with us in that market? I said, you know, it's not my area of expertise. I want to let you know that up front, but yes, I can help you do that. And, you know, I'm licensed in the state of South Carolina. I could write a contract in Greenville if I really wanted to. But let's look, you know, let's first look at the property. Let's see what you'll think about it, and then we'll go from there. So anyways, they walk through it. They love it. They want to make an offer. They said, Brian, I'd like for you to go ahead and, you know, just call the agent, let them know the offer's coming in, and let's see what they say. So I call this agent, and this is great. I call this agent, and she answers the phone, and I can already tell just by the way she answers the phone that she is just a big deal. She is a big-time real estate agent, regardless of the fact that she literally has no past sales or reviews on Zillow. She's awesome. So she answers the phone, and I start going through some of the basic questions, and I say, all right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to make you an offer today, and I just want to run it by you, let you know that it's coming. I've already sent it to the client to sign. And so she goes, well, can you tell me what the offer is? I said, sure. We're going to offer, I'll make a number here. We're going to offer $400,000, which was really close to the asking price, by the way. And we need some closing costs paid for because they want to do some renovations to the house, and they want to save that cash. And she said, well, let me stop you right there. Do not bring me a contract with closing costs. And so I said, okay. The closing costs are really important to them because they want to save the cash to make some of the repairs to the home because the home is outdated. She said, Brian, I'm not going to tell you again. These sellers are adamant they will not pay closing costs. And I said, well, even if we raise our contract amount, $5,000 to cover the closing costs that they need. She's like, Brian, for the third time, and so you can kind of see where this conversation is going. Very challenging person to communicate with. So I said, okay. Well, here's the other thing. They have their home that will be going on the market next week. It's a modern home, which we don't have very many of in the Mount Pleasant area. It's like 3 miles from the beach. It's very cool. I don't have any issue with it selling quickly. And she said, all right, well, how much do they, how much are they going to ask for the house? So I gave them some information about the house. And then I said, well, they would like to move in before their home sells so that it will sell faster. And they're willing to pay you rent for that. Well, how much are you going to pay in rent? We were thinking $2,500 based on our research. She's like, well, that's, we were probably thinking more like $3,000, which is way, way above what fair market value is for rent. So I said, well, where's that number coming from? She's like, well, that's just probably what I'll tell the client to do because, you've got a home to sell. There's no guarantee it'll sell. We want to try and get as much rent as possible. So already she's being opportunistic. And then she said, and I'm going to tell you one more thing, Brian. Don't bring me a contract unless there's some sort of, and she used the word, sizable, non-refundable earnest money check so that if it doesn't sell, then the seller gets to keep that money. And I said, okay, well, what were you thinking? Well, probably about $50,000. This is a $400,000 house. $50,000 if the home doesn't sell. And I said, all right, so where did that number come from? And she said, that's just probably what I think is fair. And I was like, you think $50,000 is fair for a buyer to come in and pay you above market rent and pay you fair market value for a house that hasn't sold in over a year and then give you a check for $50,000 if it doesn't sell in a few months? And she said, Brian, let me tell you something. We reduced the price on this house 3 months ago, and we've been getting 2 to 3 showings a week. So I'm not concerned about this house selling. And then right there, I got her and I said, wow, so you reduced the price 3 months ago and you've had literally dozens of showings and it hasn't sold? That's interesting. Just kind of stick it to her a little bit because she was really getting ornery and just a total prima donna. And so you can kind of get a sense for how this conversation is going. And it really just started with closing costs, something very simple, something that is asked for very regularly in this market. Even though it's a seller's market, buyers are still asking sellers to pay their closing costs. I'd say more often than not. And so it just kind of was the tipping point, and it just got worse from there. So anyways, I went back to my client and I talked to them about it, and I said, here's how the conversation went. And it wasn't very good. This is what this agent is saying. I have no idea whether this is just the agent talking on behalf of her client or if this is really what the client's going to want. I don't know. There's no harm in making the offer, except that if they accept it, you guys might be dealing with either an agent or a seller that can become very difficult to deal with. And if the idea is for you to live in that property and rent it while your home is selling, God forbid for some reason your home doesn't sell, I think they're going to bend you over a barrel. I think they're really going to try and take advantage of you. So we ended up not making the offer. And so she called me later that day and she said, hey, Brian, never got the offer. I said, yeah, I think, after the discussion we had, we're going to look elsewhere. She's like, well, I'll tell you what, that's kind of music to my ears. You know how many deals I've seen fall through? I've been doing this for 35 years, honey. And so I've got this smirk on my face as we're on the phone, and I'm thinking, I wonder how many of those deals that fell through were because of you. And so it was just a very interesting conversation, but there's the point in kind of telling you this story is that we get these agents in this marketplace, but really all over the world, that just think that they are hot stuff and are extremely challenging to work with, and in my opinion, are doing their clients a disservice. So as real estate agents, yes, we have those challenging conversations every day, and that's part of what makes this business emotional, at least for us as real estate agents, although we could never share that with you, and the emotional toll that it takes on us, because we're supposed to be professional and steadfast and not let that kind of stuff get to us, because at the end of the day, it's not about us, it's about you. So as it relates to that conversation, because the tipping point for her apparently was closing costs, I want to just talk about that for a brief minute. What are they? Is it really that big of a deal? Well, I'll tell you this. Closing costs are very regularly asked for to be paid by the seller at closing. So when you're a buyer and you purchase a home and you're getting a mortgage, you've got your down payment, and then you also have what's called closing costs and prepaids. So closing costs are the fees associated with the closing of a real estate transaction. They're things like a fee for running your credit report, or a loan origination fee, which lenders charge for processing the loan and the paperwork for you. It also includes things like the attorney's fees and discount points and an appraisal and a title search and a recording fee, an underwriting fee, things like that. Things charged by the lender, things charged by the closing attorney, things that are charged to the buyer in association with getting a mortgage. Those are closing costs. Now, prepaids are things that go toward an escrow account. So those things might include something like any per diem HOA dues, or your first year's worth of property insurance and taxes, things like that. They're prepayments that go toward escrow accounts, but they're collected at closing. And usually for the typical home in Charleston, let's say a $300,000 house, the closing costs are usually around 2.5% to 3% of the purchase price. Not a lot of buyers realize that, hey, in addition to my down payment, I also have to have about 3% of the purchase price in cash to be able to purchase this home. Well, obviously, with interest rates being as low as they are, it makes sense to ask the seller to pay for your closing costs. So let's say that the house is worth $300,000 and you think you can buy it for $290,000. You're going to get a little bit of a deal on the house, but you're not asking for closing costs. Well, you find out that, hey, you know what? Instead of spending almost $10,000 on fees associated with closing on this house, I'd rather get some new flooring and put in an HVAC system. I want to do some repairs or upgrades to the house. So rather than buying it for $290,000, I'm going to buy it for $300,000, and I'm going to ask that the seller pay $10,000 toward closing costs. It's a way of saving cash. You're essentially just rolling those fees into your mortgage and spreading those fees out over 30 years, the life of your mortgage. It's a very efficient way of saving cash and helping the seller understand that, hey, they're making the same amount of money. The net to them at closing doesn't change, but it helps you, the buyer, with the potential cash outlay when you buy a house. And it happens more often than not. In lower price ranges, it happens more. In higher price ranges, it happens less. The higher the price, the more you normally see a cash offer or someone putting 10, 20, 25 or more % down. But in this kind of entry-level price range, more often than not, you're going to see a buyer asking for closing costs. And so I've partnered with a local lender, and for any home that I list for sale, if the buyer for that home uses our preferred lender, that preferred lender will pay up to $5,000 or 1% of the purchase price toward that buyer's closing costs. That's a fantastic incentive. So for those of you out there that are listening that are thinking about buying a house, take into account that the lender will pay either 1% or $5,000 toward closing costs, whichever is less. And then on top of that, you get the seller to pay a portion of your closing costs and prepaids. It's a great way of saving that cash. And then with regard to prepaids, those are going to fluctuate depending upon taxes and insurance. I'm going to take a break, and we're going to go to the lines here, and we have Michael that wants to talk about rental home repairs. Michael, you on the line?
Yes.
Hey, how are you this morning?
Great. 10 years ago, 5 children inherited 8 rental homes from the father who passed away. We've been managing them, and they're under property management.
Mm-hmm.
Recently, in June, our small rental home, which is between I-26 and Dorchester Road, was hit by a car. Now, this is a small home, like 775 square feet, 2 bedrooms, hardwood floors, living room, dining room, small kitchen, 2 bedrooms, all that.
Wow, I'm sorry that happened.
Little porch on the back, little porch on the front. Okay. The house has had some issues over the years. It literally sat unrented for 60 months because we couldn't find a human being that would restore it for a reasonable price in Charleston. Now, Charleston, 9 years ago, said the house was worth $63,000 for Texas. $63,000.
Mm-hmm.
I had your competitor right by the house a few years ago, before we had it repainted, and before we got it up to being rented again, put in an HVAC central, first time since 1947. And he said, my advice to you is to list it at $24,995. $24,995.
Wow.
So you can see the dilemma of the homeowner. Charleston said it's worth $63,000. Your competitor says listed at $24,995.
Yeah. Yeah, and
now, here's what we've got to decide. Are we going to, let's just say we can repair the home that was hit by a car, not occupied now. It has been renting for $675 a month.
Okay.
Do we keep going with trying to keep it rented, or do we just say, we've had it from our dear father who passed away for 10 years, enough is enough, let's lunch it. Thank you.
That's an interesting question. The way that I would look at that, Michael, is I would look at it this way. And let's just use your example of, it being worth $25,000, although I would speculate that it's probably worth more now than it was several years ago, if it's remained in the same condition. I would look at it this way. How much can I sell this property for after I fix it up? What's the cost associated with fixing it up? And then I would compare that to the monthly rental income. What I'm trying to determine is, would it make sense to sell it now as is? And what does that number look like if I'm already getting $675 a month? And if I were to fix it up, how much would it be worth then? How much would it rent for then? And I would analyze the return on investment, because this is an investment property for you. So you have to look at the numbers associated with it. So for me, I'd look at, all right, if I sell it as is and it's renting for this much, how much is my cash on cash return potential there versus fixing it up, increasing the rent, increasing property market value? What's the return on investment there? And who ultimately is going to buy this? Is it going to be an end user, or is it going to be another investor?
Yes. Somebody in the neighborhood that might have family that likes a little 2-bedroom house, close to everything. Or, these small houses. I mean, it's a small house. I mean, it's a nice house.
Mm-hmm.
It's built probably right after World War II. But it's in Ranger Drive. I don't know if that's Dorchester, Wayland, or Waverly, or what,
Yeah, I tell you what, we'll get your personal information when we take a break here, which we need to do right now. Thanks for calling in, Michael. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the process of selling your home and then buying another. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. Remember, the phone number here to call in is 843-556-1250. And I can be reached at listingsincharleston.com or 345-1273. We'll be right back.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. WTMA! Now, the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues on Charleston's Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston. Thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty. We're in the studio today taking your calls. The number here is 843-556-1250. Again, that's 843-556-1250. Now, if you want to have a conversation with me off the air, you want to talk about your real estate needs, you're thinking of buying, selling, or investing in real estate, call my cell phone. That number is 843-345-1273. That's 843-345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. You can learn more about us and the kind of properties we sell and all that fun stuff. You can also learn more about that 2.4% listing commission to sell your home this year. We are going to end that incentive at the end of this year. So 2.4% listing commission. We get to determine how much to compensate the buyer agent. And then we also have that local lender that will pay $5,000 or 1% of the purchase price toward the buyer for your home's closing costs, whichever is less, 1% or $5,000. So a lot of incentives out there to try and help you save some money when you transact in real estate this year. But it's interesting. It's September 10th. We are in what we call a 90-day business. So when we meet somebody and they sign an agreement to work with us and they're ready to buy a home or sell a home, usually there's a closing about 90 days later. That's about our sales cycle, 90 days. So it could be September 10th. It could be December 10th. If you're thinking about buying or selling and you want to get it done by the end of the year, not a ton of time left. So think about that as you guys are making your plans for the end of this year, the beginning of next year as it relates to real estate. All right, so I want to talk about selling your house and then buying another, a home sale contingency. It's very common in this market, of course, to benefit from appreciation, sell your home, take advantage of the fact that we're in a seller's market, and then go and buy another home that's more expensive or larger or whatever the case might be. Maybe you're downsizing. But you want to sell your home first. You need the proceeds from that sale in order to pay for the new one. So there are two different types of home sale contingencies out there. There is the sale and settlement contingency, and then there's just a settlement contingency. And so when you make an offer to a seller to purchase their home and you say, I have to sell my home first, the seller is going to want to ask a few questions. Those questions are going to be things like, is your home already on the market? If not, that's usually a kind of a red flag for them. It indicates that the potential buyer's really just kind of thinking about buying and selling at this point. They're not 100% committed. It's either that or they will only sell if they can buy that specific home. I have been in that situation twice. When I lived in the home that I bought several years ago in Mount Pleasant and then fixed up and ultimately decided that we wanted to sell it and buy something else, I wanted to sell that home first before buying something else. And we made an offer on two homes. And this was over a year ago. This was a year and a half, 2 years ago. That contained a home sale contingency. And I said, hey, you know me, I'm a real estate agent. I'm not going to overprice my house. I'm not going to mess that part of it up. I'll sell my home. That's not the issue. I just need a little bit of time to get that done. So I'm willing to make a competitive offer, but I've got to sell my home first. Well, we went through two properties. The seller ended up not entertaining those offers, mostly because they were brand new listings. They had just hit the market. I didn't really want to move unless I could buy that specific home. It wasn't like something was pushing me out of my house. So I went for a sale and settlement contingency. So as the name implies, a sale and settlement contingency is dependent upon the buyer selling and settling on their existing home. This is a type of contingency that's used if the buyer has not yet received an offer to purchase their current house. So in general, this type of contingency allows a seller to continue to market the property to other potential sellers with the stipulation that if that seller finds another buyer that does not have a home to sell, they have the right to give me notice to say, hey, you've got 48 hours to drop this home sale contingency, or we're going to kick you out of this process and we're going to go with another buyer that doesn't have to sell their home. That's called a kick-out clause. It's very common in this market. So if you're going to sell your home and then buy another and your home is not already under contract, the seller is more than likely going to want a kick-out clause, the right to continue to market the property for sale. And if they find another buyer that doesn't need to sell their home, they're going to kick you out of the deal. Now, if your home is under contract, then usually what they do is something called a settlement contingency, meaning, they don't have the right to kick you out of the deal. Your home's already under contract. You're already processing that. You're trying to move toward closing. And as soon as that home that you're selling closes, you're going to buy this other house. So obviously you don't want the seller to have the right to kick you out of the deal because, if your home is selling in a week and then you find out that, hey, we're going to kick you out of the deal because someone made us an offer for a few grand more and they don't have a home to sell, then guess what happens? The buyer's left homeless. And I'm very proud to say that in the 10 years that I've been doing this and in the, 1,000 or so properties that we've sold, that we have never made a seller or buyer homeless. We've always had a plan. We've always protected them contractually. And that is extremely important, is that when you go through a complicated process like this, that will inevitably have some hurdles along the way. This is a challenging process, and I want to make that clear. It's not the easy peasy real estate deal where, there aren't really that many moving parts. It's fairly complicated. You really have to think about the process. You have to discuss it with your agent, and your agent has to be able to lay it out point by point by point, A to Z. And if they can't, or if you get uneasy about it, or if you just feel like, gosh, I'm just not entirely comfortable about this, then that might be a sign for you to interview another real estate agent, quite frankly. It's a complicated process in that there are several things that can go wrong, but if you've done it as many times as I have, you know what to do and how to do it. Because there's a bunch of different ways you can structure this. But I would say that for those of you listening that are thinking about selling your home and then buying another, it's incredibly important that you really do have a sit-down meeting with that agent and you talk about the process start to finish. What are some of the potential pitfalls? What could happen? How do we plan for that? How do we try and prevent that? And if it happens, what's our game plan? So for those of you that want to buy a home but need to sell your home first, I will tell you this: it is very challenging to, number one, get a seller to agree to a home sale contingency if your home is not on the market. And number two, if your home is on the market and they agree to sell the home to you, giving you the right to sell your home first and agreeing to take it off the market for X number of weeks or months, they're more than likely not going to also agree to give you the deal of the century. So I think that it's important that if you do have a home to sell, if you're going to buy something, we just talk about expectations. We talk about fair market value. We talk about what's realistic to offer this seller in order to try and help you accomplish the goal of selling your home and receiving all of that appreciation that you've earned over the past several years, and then buying something else with the understanding that you're not going to get the deal of the century on the price, but guess what, guys? Interest rates are so low that you're getting your deal on your payment. If at this point next year interest rates go from 3.5% to 4.5%, that's going to be an increase in your monthly payment of almost 15%. Prices, in my opinion, are not going up 15%. So we're in line right now for a kind of a double whammy. We've seen a huge amount of appreciation in our market over the past several years, but it's starting to stagnate in some areas. So just when prices are starting to stagnate and you feel like, wow, they're starting to level off a little bit, guess what's going to happen? Boom, you're going to get hit with that interest rate increase. I see it coming. I'm planning for it right now. I'm refinancing what I can refinance. I'm coaching my clients to do the same. And then we're anticipating a little bit of a shift in the market. So that's what I want to talk about next. So we're going to go through some market trends when I come back. We're still here to take your calls. The number here is 843-556-1250. And again, if you want to contact me personally, you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, my personal number is 843-345-1273. And of course, my website, listingsincharleston.com. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. We'll be right back.
Hear the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 and each Sunday morning at 10 on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
The Big Talker, WTMA.
Expert news and views on the Low-Country real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston. Thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I always like to take just a little bit of time every show and say thank you to those of you that listen to this show on a consistent basis. I continue to learn more and more about just how many people listen to this show, both people that just like to listen and then, of course, people that want to buy, sell, or invest, and then a lot of real estate agents. And so I just appreciate the encouragement and for tuning in and for using this as a mechanism to educate yourself on the real estate market. That's what this show is all about. It's about helping people understand the real estate market at this point in time, give them some guidance, and of course, share some stories and experiences along the way so that you are more versed in real estate than you were prior to listening, so that when it comes time to buy, sell, or invest, you know what you're doing. And if you don't, then you know how to at least hire an agent that can tell you how to do things. So I want to go through the market trends, and I want to hit this for just a few minutes because I'll tell you this. I'm coached. I have a real estate coach, and my real estate coach also coaches other top real estate agents in the country. And we collectively, as a group of agents, are preparing for a shift in the marketplace. If you look at the way things are going nationally in our real estate market, we're going to break a record this year for the median sales price of $235,000 nationally. That is literally the highest in history. So we're seeing prices continue to go up. The economics look strong. Month's supply of inventory, all the homes that are available for sale, continue to be an issue. But what we're starting to see is because prices have gone up so rapidly, so quickly for such an extended period of time, we're starting to see some price weariness in some of these markets, meaning that you can't have 10% growth year over year over year over year in certain areas and have homes continue to be affordable. Wages have not gone up that quickly. So although the prices have gone up drastically in most areas, the saving grace has been interest rates. The fact that interest rates have been kept artificially low while prices have shot up kind of seems to make you think, wow, maybe they planned all of this. Maybe this was all intentional. The real estate recovery and how much the government had to do with it. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Charleston because that's where you live and that's what you need to know about. So I'm going to talk about August's numbers. And when I tell you these numbers, I want you to understand that this is a 3-month rolling average, meaning that although I'm reading it off for August, it encompasses June, July, and August, and the average of those 3 months. So the first thing I want to tell you about is just the number of homes that we have for sale in our market. This time last year in the entire MLS, we had about 6,800 homes available for sale. This year, we have 5,600. That's almost a 20% decrease in the number of homes for sale at any given point in time. In just Charleston County, the available amount of homes for sale is down 12%. In Berkeley County, it's down almost 30%. And in Dorchester County, it's down 24%. In Berkeley County, and you're going to see Berkeley County with some strong numbers here over the next few minutes, they had some room to improve. Charleston County recovered first, and then it seemed like Dorchester County followed suit. And now it's kind of Berkeley County's time to really recover and benefit from all the appreciation that we've seen in this market. Because although we like to read off stats for the Tri-County area, Charleston County is a heck of a lot different than Berkeley County. I think we can all agree on that based on the mix of properties that you see in Charleston County versus Berkeley County. The only thing that kind of throws that off is Daniel Island. But let's look at just new listings in general, the amount of properties that have hit the market over the past 90 days compared to the past year. So in the entire MLS, new listings are only up 4%. In Charleston County, it's 3%. In Berkeley County, it's 2%. In Dorchester County, it's 5.5%. But if you look at closings in the MLS, Tri-County area, are up 11%. In Charleston County, it's up 8%. In Berkeley County, 15%. And Dorchester County, 14%. But this is what I want to focus on. The month's supply of inventory, which means that you take the total number of homes available for sale and you divide it by the monthly average of homes that are selling, and it will tell you how many months' supply of inventory there is. So in other words, if no additional homes hit the market, how long would it take for us to sell out of all of our inventory and there'd be no homes left to buy? So in the entire MLS, Charleston, Berkeley, Dorchester County, we have 3.8 months worth of inventory, which is a very seller-slanted market. A balanced market is about 6 to 8 months worth of inventory. We're at 3.8. Now, Charleston County is at 4. Berkeley County is at 2.8 months worth of inventory. Months worth of inventory has gone down 40% from this time last year. That is huge. People that are looking in Berkeley County are having a much tougher time than they would have this time last year because the inventory is just not there. The amount of homes that are hitting the market is not keeping up with the pace of homes that are selling. And then in Dorchester County, the month's worth of inventory is down 35%. So, of course, that means the next logical thing is price. What's happening with prices? If we're seeing all of these dynamics going on with regard to listings and closings, what's going on with the price? Well, in the Tri-County area, the median price is up almost 6%. In Charleston County, it's up 12%. Berkeley County, 4%. And Dorchester County, 4%. So here we are, another huge 3 months for Charleston County. It just continues to go up. I'm telling you that in some of these markets in Charleston County, we are starting to see prices level off. If you think about it this way, a home listed yesterday for $400,000. And then today, a home lists for $410,000. And then tomorrow, a home lists for $420,000. Very soon, in some of these price ranges, we're going to stop seeing that leapfrog technique work because they've just been going up too long, too fast, and buyers are now having issues with affordability. They're just not willing to pay. At some point, they hit that glass ceiling of affordability. And, I'll say that in some price ranges in Mount Pleasant, we're already there. Mount Pleasant was kind of the first to recover in most of the areas in the Tri-County area. So in some of those price ranges where new construction has crept up, it's becoming a bit of a challenge. They've got more competition. And what I mean by that is it's not doom and gloom. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that it is not the heyday that we've been used to over the past several years. That is not a normal market. That is not a normal situation for a seller or for a market to be in. So now all that's happening is it's starting to normalize. It's starting to balance a little bit, which means that it's going to take a little bit longer to sell your home. Might not sell for quite as much as you've been asking, but it's still a fantastic time to sell your house. Prices are still going to go up. They're just not going to go up as fast. And so the last thing I want to mention really quickly is just the number of showings per listing. A lot of agents kind of measure their success with a seller by the number of showings they can generate. And so, I'm going to bring you as many showings as I can. And in some instances, that's okay, in my opinion. But I much prefer to measure my success with regard to a listing based on quality, not quantity. I don't want every person under the sun to come into that house, because you know why? The seller has to leave for each one of those showings. And if they have no interest in buying that house and they're just looking, kicking tires, then what's the point anyways? I don't want to kick my seller out of the house for an hour and a half to have someone walk through it that's not going to buy it. That's why for us, we go through a pretty strict qualification process when a buyer looks at one of our listings. And we ask those agents the same thing. We're actually trying to find the people that are not willing or ready or able to buy right now, and then say, hey, once they get to that point, we'd love to have them look at the house. But we do cancel some of our showings because, we're thinking of retiring in the area, and we just want to get a sense for what properties look like, and they're still looking at Florida and Savannah. Well, that's pretty much a waste of time. I mean, nothing's guaranteed, but I can tell you for the most part that person's not going to buy your house, so might as well just save the time and energy and not even have it be shown. If they get to the point where they decide that Charleston is where they want to be and they need to buy a house, then yeah, let's show it to them. But as it relates to showings are up almost 25% across the board. Buyers are becoming a little more antsy. They are looking at more properties because it's harder to find one. When they find something and they want to make an offer on it, they're running into multiple offer situations still. So there's a lot going on in this market right now. Still good for a seller, still a little bit of a challenge for a buyer, but I see it starting to level off a little bit, folks, in some of these areas. And so we're going to keep a close eye on that over the next few months. And of course, here in the next 6 to 8 weeks, I'm going to start giving my projections for 2017's market. And so we'll have that toward the end of the year. We're going to take one more break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about home staging. Is it worth the money? Is it worth the time? Does it actually work? Remember to give us a call. We got a few minutes left in the show. 843-556-1250 is the number here in the studio. And if you want to contact me about selling your house, buying a home, I can be reached at 843-345-1273 or by going to my website, listingsincharleston.com. Stick around. We'll be right back.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty. Next on 1250 WTMA.
WTMA.
Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston. Thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show as we close out the last few minutes of this program. I appreciate those of you that listen to this program. If you have any questions for me, you want to talk off air about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, feel free to call my cell phone. That number is 843-345-1273, or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. Remember that 2.4% listing incentive to sell your home with me through the end of this year. We're going to do away with that incentive come January. So 2.4% as a listing commission to sell your home this year. Let me talk very quickly about staging. We went a little long in the beginning part of this program, so I'm going to rush through this information. But there's a report that comes out every year, and it's kind of a subsidiary of the National Association of Realtors. It's called the Profile of Home Staging, and it offers a bunch of highlights and insight into whether or not staging actually works based on the views and opinions of other real estate agents. And so it said here that, one of the highlights is that 32% of buyer agents believed that staged homes increase the dollar value buyers are willing to offer by 1 to 5%. It also said that the median dollar value associated with staging a home is $675. Now, I want to discuss really quickly the difference between staging, using your existing furniture and decluttering, and then really putting new furniture into your house. I am a huge fan of redecorating your home, decluttering your home, using what you already have to present it in its best light. I very, very, very rarely suggest staging a house with new furniture if it's vacant, unless I think that home has a floor plan that's a bit tricky. I do think that it can help your home sell for money. I've had it help homes sell for more money, but it's usually with the properties that have just kind of a weird floor plan. You can't quite make sense out of it. I had this one home that had a humongous, it was basically just a huge loft. The kitchen opened to the family room. There was a dining area. There was another sitting area and a fireplace. It was a huge, just big box. And people were looking at it and saying, yeah, I'm having trouble making sense out of this. So we staged it, and that helped. But I want to give you 5 quick tips about staging, and this is what to not do. First thing is, when you decide to sell your home and your realtor wants to help you stage the home, don't take it personally. We are not here to tell you that your decor is ugly. We are here to help you think of your home as a product. And that's the hardest part for people, is to detach themselves emotionally from their home and help look at it through the eyes of a would-be buyer. So the first thing is, don't take it personally. We're not here to use it as an opportunity to tell you, hey, get rid of those fake flowers on the top of your cabinets, or whatever the case might be. We just want to help you. We want to help you sell the home for the most money. So don't take that personally. We've seen enough homes to know what a good home looks like and what a buyer will be impressed by. Second thing is, don't do major renovations. You can do little stuff here and there, repairs here and there, but don't go out and start spending a ton of money on granite countertops and expensive flooring, or doing an addition or renovation without consulting your real estate agent to determine how much that is going to help your home actually sell for. Most of the time, that is money that is not well spent. Third thing I would say is, don't think the house will sell itself. Just because you own a home in a nice area or in a competitive price range doesn't mean that you don't have to do anything to your home to prepare it for sale. Because we're in a seller's market, use this opportunity to help your home sell for more money. Take advantage of that. The fourth thing is, don't run out and buy a bunch of new furniture. Use what you have. I can help you stage your home. And then the last thing is, don't be afraid to ask for help. I staged a home this week. It turned out pretty darn nice. Very rarely do I hire a professional stager, but we have access to that, and that's something we offer for people that want to sell their home with us. So we're out of time. Ran a little late or a little long in the beginning of the program. I apologize about that. But if you'd like to work with me about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, feel free to give me a call. My number is 843-345-1273. Or go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com with that 2.4% listing commission. I appreciate all of you that listened. Have a great rest of your weekend. And thanks again for tuning in to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.